Hi everyone, my name is Vinay. So welcome to Google IT Support Certification course. Today I would like to discuss about this Windows operating system. So before I start, let me talk about myself first. As I said, my name is Vinay. So I am working as a IT administrator from almost 10 plus years. So I am expertise in cloud computing also. So I would like to discuss about this operating system. So what is this OS? What is the purpose of the OS? Now there are, I think all of you know, there are different types of operating systems. Now first of all, what is a operating system? Now operating system, it is a interface between user and the hardware, or you can say user and the computer. Like all the instructions whatever you are giving to a computer, copy the file, open the file, all these instructions without operating system, so we can't do. So that's the reason I use the word interface. So OS, it is an interface between the user and the hardware. There are different types of operating systems we have. Like we have Windows, most of the laptops, your desktops, your personal computers, everywhere you will use Windows operating system from Microsoft. Now apart from Windows, we got Linux operating systems, we got Macintosh, Mac from Apple, like different operating systems. Now this session is dedicated to Windows operating system. I will be talking about server operating system in detail. Now as we came to know, so what is a OS? So it is a software program that enables computer's hardware to communicate and operate with the computer software. Like in a simple line, it is the interface between the user and the hardware. Now there are different types of operating systems in Windows. For example, two types are there. So we got client operating system. Client operating systems like what? These are also called as desktop operating systems. So which you are using in your laptops, desktops, even mobile phones sometime. For example, Windows XP, Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, all these are client operating systems. And we have server operating system, the second type. Server operating systems like Windows 2012, Windows 2003, 2008, even we have some latest operating systems like 2016 also. Okay, 2016 is the latest of server OS. Now I will try to discuss what is the difference between these two operating systems, client and server. Now before I talk about what is this operating system, so let's talk about what is actually a server. So have you seen a server before? I hope you have Googled so many times, so many images you have seen. Like let's talk about 20 years back, IBM mainframe computers. What is the size of a computer? A room size is equal to a computer. Now day by day manufacturers like HP, Dell, IBM, so many companies, they introduce some high performance computers like this. So you can see on the slide, there are some different types of servers. Like in the old days, we used to have tower servers. Okay, we got tower servers. Next came rack servers. After that, blade servers. So these are the different types of hardware devices you have. Now you know laptops, desktops, your personal computers. These are also computers which you are right now seeing on the slide. What is the difference between your devices, your laptops, desktops, and the devices which you are seeing on the slide? What is the major difference is the hardware. Hardware is the major difference. Now, you go to a computer shop, you are asking the computer guy, I want a new computer. What is the first question he is going to raise? What configuration you are looking for? So, I will tell him, so I need a RAM, something like maybe 16 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM, you will mention the RAM capacity, hard disk capacity, hard disk, processors, motherboard, maybe you need a graphic card. So, we will mention all these things. Okay. So, the same type of hardware you will find out in this servers also. You go with your laptops, desktops, you will find out RAM, hard disk, processor. So, without these components, computers will not perform. The same type of hardware you will find out in the servers also. But what makes the difference is, these servers can handle more hardware. Like you have experienced up to maybe 16 GB RAM, 32 GB RAM. Server can have maybe 100 GB, maybe 200 GB of RAM. And what about hard disks? So, you are familiar with some hard disks like SATA hard disks, okay, SATA hard disks, IDE, like different types of hard disks we have. Now, when you talk about servers, what type of hard disk will use? SSDs, solid state drives, hybrid SSDs. 1 TB SSD you want to purchase, so you have to spend almost 30,000 rupees. 30K you have to spend almost only on a hard disk. You spend 30K, you will get a laptop, but here you are going to get only a hard disk. Why this is expensive? Because the input output performance, that means the read and write speed of this hard disk is 10 times faster than a normal hard disk. That type of hard disk will be having in this servers. Now, when I say input output performance, IOPS, I am talking about the speed of the hard disk. Computer performance not depend only on processor and RAM, it also depends on the hard disk speed. Maybe you want to run some high end applications, maybe companies want to use some huge applications, maybe SAP HANA. So, at that time you need a hard disk like SSDs. Okay, performance of the hard disk will be very fast. And processors, what type of processors you have seen? Maybe you have seen i7 processors, maybe latest i9 processors. But in these servers, what type of servers will use is processors will use is Xeon processors in these servers. Itanium based processors. The extreme edition, the high end edition from Intel almost cost you $2,000. That means you have to spend approximately 2 lakh rupees only on a processor. But why I need this type of hardware? Where I said, so 100 GBs of RAM, SSDs, Xeon processors. Why I need this type of hardware in these devices? Now, when you talk about a organization, a company, any industry you name it, IT industry, whatever it is. Okay. So, we will be having end users, employee computers. All these employee computers will be connected to one single device called as server, where you keep all your data. All the data is kept in the server. Now, how many employees will access this data? Maybe 10 employees, 100 employees, 1000 employees, it depends on the number of employees present in the organization. All these people at the same time want to access this data. At that time, the computer which store this data should have more hardware, more RAM, more processing speed to resolve all these queries. That means that type of environment needs this type of hardware related servers. Right now, why I am trying to discuss all these things? Because if I want to support this hardware, where more RAM is there, where more hard disk space, where more processors are there, in order to support this hardware, so what type of operating systems I need? In the previous slide, we have seen client operating systems and server operating systems. So, what operating systems will be installing in those devices is the server operating systems. Okay. So, what is the reason? Because Server operating systems, which as you can see on the slide. So, server operating systems can handle more hardware. So, they can handle more hardware, more RAM, everything. Now, these are specially designed for servers. That means the previous diagrams which I showed you, those servers, what operating system I have to install is the server OS. This operating system server OS is specially designed for these servers. Now, what about client operating system? The client operating system is designed for your desktops, like you are using at your home, maybe end user working in the office, a software employee. So, which operating systems you will use? Windows 10, Windows 8, these are all desktop operating systems, client operating systems. Now, they do not support more hardware. Client operating system supports very less hardware. Okay. So, that is the difference between a client OS and a server OS. Now, we came to know operating system. So, operating system, it is the interface between the user and the hardware. Two types of operating systems, client OS and server OS. We talked about the differences, what is client OS and server OS. Today, I would like to discuss the server operating system in detail, and I will be discussing about 2012 server OS. There are so many different server operating systems. For example, if you see this slide, so this is the history of the server operating systems. The first server operating system was released in 1993, NT 3.1, which is not that much popular. Everyone came to know about Microsoft from 1996 when NT 4.0 is released. Okay, later we got 2000, 2003, 2008 and 2012. Now, latest one we have is 2016. But most of the industries right now, if they are working on Windows servers, you will be finding two operating systems, 2008 and 2012. 70 to 80% of the companies will be working on this 2012 server operating system. Now, let us talk about different types of editions in this 2012 and 2008. So, different flavors in 2008 editions. You can see there are three popular editions which are used in the corporate networks. We got standard edition, enterprise and data center, three different editions. What are the difference between these? Same operating system 2008, but different editions. I hope you are familiar with Windows 7, Windows 8. Windows 7 also has some editions, right, like Ultimate, Professional, Home. Now, when we meet in the next session, I will talk about these client operating systems also. Today, we are more concentrating on server OS. Like Windows 7, how the editions are there, the server OS also has different editions. But why different editions, same operating system? What are the differences? Okay. Now, for example, let us say for example 2008 standard edition. How much maximum RAM I can have in this standard edition is 32 GB. Maximum I can reach up to 32 GB. There are two architectures in server operating system. You talk about Windows, two architectures are there in operating system of Windows. 32-bit and 64-bit, two architectures. If your OS is 32-bit, 2008, maximum RAM is 4 GB. Standard edition. If it is data center 32-bit, 32 GB. Like there are differences in hardware support. What hardware this operating system can support? What hardware data center is supporting, same hardware standard cannot support. Even there are differences in the services what they provide. Like data center has a service called as failover clustering, which is not available in this standard edition. Like there are differences in hardware what they provide, even services. Now I used to say standard edition is for small network, enterprise is for medium, data center is for large networks. Like big companies, you go with this data center edition. Now let us talk about 2012 editions also. There are so many editions in 2012. Most commonly used are the one which you are seeing on the slide 4. You have 15 users in the office, you go with foundation. Maybe you have 25 users in the office, you go with essentials. Now standard edition in 2012, standard edition data center, they do not have a limit about users, unlimited objects you can create. Almost 2 billion objects supported in this operating system 2012. Now in the previous slide I said Windows has two architectures, 32-bit as well as 64-bit. 32-bit operating systems support less hardware, so performance of the computers will be slow. No one wants to work on slow computers. That is the reason Microsoft removed 32-bit in 2012. Right now in 2012 we have only 64-bit architecture. 2012 operating system, it is a 64-bit only operating system. We do not have 32-bit here. Now when you talk about the pricing, standard edition will almost cost you $800. Data center will almost cost you $4,800. That means you have to spend 3 to 4 lakh rupees only on the operating system license if you are choosing data center. Whatever the hardware standard is supporting, same hardware data center also support. Whatever the features standard is providing, same features data center also provide. Then why price is difference? Then why this is more expensive? There is only one difference between standard and data center: virtualization. The only one difference between standard and data center is virtualization. Now I will speak about this virtualization when the time comes in our next sessions. For time being, you have to remember standard edition supports 2 virtual instances, data center will support up to unlimited instances. But what actually the word instance is, I will discuss in the virtualization sessions. Right now you just remember, so the difference between standard and data center is this: 2 virtual instances in standard, unlimited instances in data center. Now these two, they do not support virtualization. No virtualization support in foundations and essentials. Now this 2012 operating system was released in 2012 October. So I used to go to this website of Microsoft when the first time OS is released 2012. At that time I have observed a tagline called as 2012 tagline, beyond virtualization. The reason why Microsoft introduced this 2012 OS is mostly because of this virtualization purpose. So they are the difference between these editions in 2012. Now let us talk about what are the basic hardware requirements. If I want to install this 2012 operating system, what are the requirements I need? So these are the basic requirements you can see. Minimum of 1 processor we need with speed 1.4 gigahertz. Maximum supported is 64 processors. Processor should be 64-bit architecture. Your OS is 64-bit, processor also should be 64-bit. Now you can see a node called as Hyper-V. This Hyper-V it is a service related to virtualization. As I said, virtualization we will discuss in the next sessions. For time being, if you want to implement virtualization in your server, you have to purchase a processor which is supporting this virtualization, like Intel VT, Intel VTX, AMD V processors. As you can see on the slide, memory, how much RAM you need minimum. 512 MB is enough to install the OS, but 512 MB is enough to run the operating system successfully means no. Maybe you want to run applications etc., you need more RAM. So, our recommendation is to go with 4 gig, 4 GB of RAM you need. 2012 operating system server OS maximum support is up to 4 TB. 4 TB RAM it can handle. So, you can understand how much queries it can resolve. And disk space, minimum 10 GB we need to install hard disk space. Maybe you want to install applications to store some data, 10 GB is not enough, 80 GB or greater we need. Okay, we need more than 80 GB. Operating system size is almost 3.5 GB. You download it from the Microsoft or purchase, it will fit under a DVD. So, server must and should have a DVD ROM, or you can make it as a USB bootable also. You can install the OS using USB also. I will try to show you how to install this operating system 2012. There are two different types of installations in server OS. First one is called as a GUI. Second one, server core. Now, GUI means full installation. Full installation in the sense like your Windows 10, Windows 7, how you will have desktop, wallpapers, everything. In the same way, GUI also will have same. In 2008 server OS, Microsoft released the second one called as server core. Now, why Microsoft operating systems are more popular? Why everywhere you see at your home, your office, everywhere you see why Microsoft? Because user friendly, rich interface. If that is the reason why everyone is using Microsoft operating systems, why they came up with something like core? Because when I say core, the second type of installation, core means it is a command based, no GUI, no graphics, nothing. It completely command based. All the work you want to do in a computer, if you are using server core, you have to go with commands only. Now, GUI means it is like your Windows 10, how Windows 10 will have all the consoles, Internet Explorer, Windows Explorer. In the same way, 2012 GUI will have everything. But server core means nothing, you will get a black screen with command prompt. Why they released this operating system server core? What Microsoft is saying, who should use this server core? What are the reasons are? Server core is robust. Robust means fast, performance is fast when you compare with GUI. Server core is secure also. The way how viruses are attacking the GUI will not attack server core. Less graphics, less attack surface. But what is the drawback here? Server core is not recommended to run applications. Maybe your office want to run applications in this OS, not recommended to use server core. You have to go with GUI. That is the difference between a GUI and a core. Let me show you how to install this operating system. We will see how to install this operating system in GUI mode. Okay. So, you can see on the display. So, right now, so there are different types of installation steps are there. Okay, let us see how to install this Windows Server 2012. It can be any operating system, Windows 7, Windows 8 or your server OS which we are learning. If you want to install, First we need a DVD with OS. Insert the DVD in your machine. Restart your computer. I think all of you know how to restart a computer. Once you start your machine, once you restart, you have to go to this blue screen which is called as BIOS. But how do I go to this screen? Depending on your computer, different keys. You press delete button continuously, F12, F9, F8. Okay, so many different keys, depends on the computer, keys changes to go to this boot screen. So you press these keys, you will go to this blue screen called as BIOS. Here you can see fourth option, boot. That means what we are trying to do, from which hardware you want to start your machine. You want to use your hard disk. First of all, this machine doesn't have OS. So from where I want to start this machine using DVD. So first boot device should be DVD ROM. Now you can see here we have some options, plus and minus keys to change the settings. Maybe any other option is available, you want to change the settings, you can change using this plus and minus keys. Change the settings, press F10 to save the settings. Once you press F10, you press S, that means enter, system reboots. So before 5 dots appear, you press any key on the keyboard to start your OS booting from DVD or CD. So files will be loaded. Okay, files will be loaded. You will get the installation wizard, everything. Select your proper language, everything, etc. Click next. Install now. So here in this slide you can see you got 4 options. Standard GUI first one, standard core second one. Already we came to know GUI and core. Let's go with GUI first one. Accept the license terms, click next. Maybe you want to upgrade your operating system, you choose upgrade. Right now we are not talking about upgrading. A fresh installation, you will go with custom. You select custom, click next. So minimum we need 10 GB of free space to install this operating system. Right now I have almost 40 GB of space. Okay, I will click on drive options, click new, enter the space whatever you want, click OK. Now in the coming classes we will see how to create more partitions, like you have D drive, C drive in your computer, how you can get, so that we have a session. So you select your partition, click next. Right now you can see system reserved, this is hidden, it contains boot information, how your system should start, etc. The partition 1 will be your C drive, just click next. Installation starts. Depending on your hardware, time changes. Depending on your hardware, more RAM, more processing speed, less than a minute also installation can be done. So once installation is completed, system restarts. As this is a server operating system, you have to give a username and password. So just give the password here, click finish, login. So once you log in, so this is the interface what you get, nothing else. Okay, that's how you can install the server operating system. So this is about your operating system in our today's session, Windows operating system. We talked about server operating system, what is this server OS, what are the editions of the server operating system, how to install, what are the requirements, all these things we have seen. So when we meet in the next class, I will be discussing about how to install this client operating system, and we will talk about in detail about this operating system of Windows. I hope the session is very informative to you. So this is Vinay signing off. So thank you everyone.